Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So, Raw and SmackDown potentially both going to 3 hours.
So there's a slogan about this, Lance.
Yeah.
It's called "Too Much of a Good Thing."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, you started off, Lance, because this was your suggested topic.
Yeah. So
I'm guessing you got some strong feelings.
look,
about this.
Here's the thing. Me and you and the guy that likes Vince Russo and Tony, we all have jobs, right?
Yeah,
we don't have all day to sit around and watch wrestling.
We go to work. We need someone to sponsor us so that we can do full-time wrestling content.
Yeah,
and then we can watch.
Then maybe I'll have time to watch 3 hours of Raw and 3 hours of SmackDown. And all that bullshit. But yeah, I mean, shit, it's too much. I find myself skipping through all the mid-card stuff on Raw and SmackDown because I don't have time. I just want to see the main event stuff, you know. I just stop it when I see, the Judgment Day, or if I see Randy Orton, or if I see Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
But if it's mid-card stuff, I skip over because it's too fucking much.
And the problem is with Raw having 3 hours, not only is it filled with mid-card stuff, it's filled with low-card stuff. You got Enhancement McJobber.
You're right.
Wrestling.
Right.
Now, that does give talent maybe more exposure.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. Why not, push up your talent from the low card to the mid card and let them have exposure there?
Yeah, I agree. So let's kind of cover what's been going on. So Raw's going back to 2 hours starting October 7th, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to stay that way through the end of the year until they go to Netflix. And from what I understand, it's still up in the air as far as what's going to happen on Netflix, if they're going to go back to 3 hours or not. I read several different things today. I read that they're going to they could stay at 2 or 3. I also read that they could go to 3 for 6 months and then go back to 2 hours. I don't know what the point of that would be. But now they're talking about putting SmackDown on 3 hours. It's just too much. Now, because I mean, that was a complaint I had about Nitro back in the day.
Yeah.
It was 3 fucking hours.
Yeah.
And now Raw's been 3 hours, I think, for 12 years now?
A long time.
Yeah. So it's like when I heard that, I wasn't even watching wrestling at the time, but I'm like, well, that's just another reason not to watch wrestling.
So I watched the Hulu version of the shows primarily.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Although I do have Sling TV right now, and by threatening to quit it several times, I've gotten the price down to $15 a month.
All right.
They gave me, I'll pay for cable for $15 a month,
Sirius XM does the same thing. I got my bill down from 42 to 4.
So we're not going to have Sirius XM and Sling sponsor us by telling their secrets so we can forget them as sponsors, but we're not getting anybody as sponsors. So we need sponsors.
We're drinking Sierra Nevada Juicy Little Thing IPA. It's delicious. Sponsor us.
Yeah, somebody sponsor. We want to quit our job so we can watch 6 hours of wrestling.
Yeah.
Of WWE wrestling plus 2 hours of NXT.
Yeah.
Plus AEW, which has 3 shows.
Yeah.
Plus the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
It's just way too much.
I don't mind the pay-per-views being 3 or 4 hours because that's like a one-off to me.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
4 hours is too much.
You mean like that one AEW pay-per-view that just wouldn't end?
Oh, my. That was more than 4 hours. Okay.
It just kept going and going.
So I had my girlfriend who's from another place. I'll just say that. I'm not spilling too much of our business here, but a long, faraway place, and she was jet lagged. And this was like my bright idea of showing her wrestling for the first time was this AEW show that lasted 90 years. Okay, and she was dead tired and miserable, and she has not touched wrestling ever again.
Yeah. I remember you were sitting there and you were like, I promise it's not usually this long.
Yeah. That's all I could do was apologize. There was no other choice, and I was like thinking it was going to end at 11, and it was going and going and going.
Yeah.
I forgot what time it ended, like 1:30. I don't know.
Yeah, it was late, very late.
We don't need pay-per-views like that.
Yeah.
We need 3-hour pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to make it 4 hours, have it start at 7, please.
Yeah.
The problem with, number one, if they're going to keep the Hulu deal, they're going to have to condense 3 hours of Raw into an hour and a half. Okay? And it's easier to do that when you have a 2-hour show than a 3-hour show. A lot of stuff gets cut out of Raw. So there's a lot of stuff I don't see, but I mean, maybe that's good. Mm-hmm. But see, I'm kind of trusting them to decide what I see and not see. It's not like I'm getting to choose what I want to fast forward through and what I want to see, unless I watch, it on Sling or whatever. It's just too much. It's too much of a good thing. And yeah, Lance, we got stuff to do.
Right.
Like I have bills to pay, and I got to clean. I got to take care of my cat.
Yep.
I've got to go on Facebook and stuff. I've got family obligations. I take care of my dad who's older. And I just don't have time for 3 hours of professional wrestling in one day.
Yeah.
Because you work for 8 hours, and then you got to cook dinner. You got to take care of laundry, all this stuff that adults do, and then from there, you're going to sit down for 3 hours and watch wrestling. No, it's too much.
I mean, even 2 hours is pushing it, because I watch everything off the DVR. I don't ever watch anything live except a pay-per-view. So that's why I get to skip through things, right? Like even on Dynamite, it's only 2 hours, but I skip through the non-main event stuff for the most part. Even on Raw, even for guys like, Sheamus, it's not like I dislike Sheamus. It's just that he's not in the main event story right now. So I skip through his matches.
Right.
So yeah, it's just too much. This has got to be just based on money. They'll get more advertising dollars, I guess, doing an extra hour.
Well, somebody's watching it. I mean, what is it? AEW is the one that gets picked on for having basement dwellers. I mean, does the WWE have a bunch of basement dwellers?
They must.
Or is there still a lot of kids that just sit there? I mean, but that's another thing too. Like who's letting their kids stay up to 11 o'clock on a school night?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a completely different topic, but this is why I always that's one of the reasons why I always argued against the PG rating for Raw. Because why would you have a family show on that goes till 11 at night? But that's a whole other thing.
Well, maybe parenting is different today, Lance. I mean, me and you, we're hanging out with pet kids.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about having these little ones, and apparently, but I remember how things were done back in the day, and I remember watching Raw in Nitro when they pushed it up to 11 o'clock. Because back in the day, Raw used to be from 9 to 10, and I could handle that. But when it came, wrestling got pushed to 11, I remember sleeping in class. I was like, I remember every Tuesday, I wasn't learning nothing. I was sleeping.
Yeah, it was either you were tired the next Tuesday, or if you were talking to did you see Raw last night, and it's usually, well, I fell asleep,
and then you're spoiled because they're going to give it away to you. Because back then everybody was watching wrestling for the Attitude Era.
That's what we did back then.
Yeah,
who was letting their little ones, their 8, 9, 10-year-olds watch wrestling at 11 o'clock?
I don't know.
I don't get that. Is it the basement dwellers that don't work? That are watching wrestling all this time, or is it just people are just so enamored by wrestling that they push themselves through it? But I mean, I would say that we're pretty serious wrestling fans. We're making a dadgum wrestling YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you say we're pretty serious wrestling fans?
I would say so. I agree.
If we're saying that it's too much, then what does that say?
I don't know, because I mean, I don't know if this is what you're getting at. The ratings are pretty good, right? And they've been good for a while.
Yeah.
So what's going into that? I mean, I could understand it if a lot of people are, DVRing it and watching it later, but does DVR recordings count towards the ratings? Does that count as a view? I don't know. So I don't know. maybe there are, 2 million people a week, staying up till 11. I don't know.
I don't know, Lance.
Yeah.
It just,
Although on the West Coast, it's earlier, right?
yeah, because it's live.
Right, yeah. So I could understand it on the West Coast.
Well, the same problem, though, I would imagine happens on the West Coast for people who have jobs because wrestling starts at, I think, 5.
Yeah.
And, who's at home at 5 that has a normal job? Now, if
Right.
you've got an abnormal job or you work from home or, you got a job with non-traditional work hours, then maybe this is easier for you to manage. But, I mean, it's still 3 hours no matter which way you cut it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And
I mean, typically you come home from work, you eat dinner with the family.
yeah.
I mean, what is everybody just sitting in front of the TV at dinner at when they get home from work? I mean, I don't know.
Are we talking about the erosion of family values? Is this what we're talking about?
Is wrestling killing family values?
Is wrestling killing family values? Well, I mean, my goodness. I mean, I just don't understand it. Why they would? I mean, it's a money thing. It's a money grab.
It's got to be a money thing.
But I'm just wondering who watches it. Like,
Yeah.
what fan out there? Maybe they're trying to push out so much WWE content that people will not watch AEW. Because that's another problem too, and that's part of the reason why I don't keep up with AEW as much, because it's so hard to just keep up with the WWE by itself to keep up with AEW at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like having a second job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ever since WrestleMania season, I've really only kept up with Raw consistently. I haven't even kept up with AEW like I used to.
I mean, look at this. Consider this. Even Jim Cornette, whose primary job is a wrestling podcast, who actually it's part of his job to watch and review and critique professional wrestling. Even he fast forwards through stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
That's his job.
Yeah.
So now I'll make a commitment right here.
Uh-huh.
If our channel blows up enough where we can quit our jobs and people sponsor us and we make money and I can live comfortably and enough to do this channel, I will make a commitment to everyone right now. I'll make a promise, and that is I will watch every bit of wrestling content that, at least between AEW and WWE. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and watch like freaking NWA Power, okay? Unless it got good, okay? I will watch every ounce of WWE and AEW content, and I will review and share my thoughts on all of it. Every ounce, every hour. They could do 6 hours. I would watch it, okay? If we could just quit our jobs.
Yeah.
But we can't.
Yeah.
We work.
Right.
So, I say 6 hours like that's ridiculous. But isn't 3 ridiculous?
Yeah. It is. It is.
And if you have 3 hours of SmackDown and 3 hours of Raw, that's 6 hours a week of wrestling. If you took all of wrestling content in a week, 3 hours of Raw, what's going to be 3 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT, you could work an extra day at your job and help your family fight inflation.
Yep.
You could start a side business with 8 hours a week, and maybe you could quit your job that way and let it grow.
Yep.
You could moonlight. You could work for Uber. You could be productive. You're losing something when you give up 8 hours, okay? And are you trying to tell me that, let's just be honest here, wrestling is the best it's been in a long time, okay? Yeah. I think that's safe to say. Between AEW and WWE, I think it's safe to say wrestling is the best it's been in a long time. Can we say it's good enough to watch it for this many hours a week?
Nope.
No. So stop it. Well, they're not going to stop it because it's money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's money.
But here's another thing too. There's quantity over quality. One of the problems that Eric Bischoff said that helped kill WCW was whenever he was having to produce 2 extra hours of WCW Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And he said that, it was taking everything that they had creatively and resource-wise to just do the Nitro and the WCW Saturday Night episodes, okay? So here's my thought on all of this. What if we limited the amount of professional wrestling and put more resources into shorter shows? Like AEW, they could probably cut one of their shows out.
Yeah.
Rampage, they can cut that out.
Yeah.
Okay. WWE, they could cut out 2 hours of wrestling. Have just 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of Raw, and they can go back to having 1 hour of NXT. That's plenty. Okay. And then focus all their creativity and everything else into making it a better product. Now, here's the other side of this thing, though. Here's going to be what some people are going to say. This also means they're going to have to cut a lot of talent. So this is what I think. Have a robust tag team division. If it wasn't for the Young Bucks, I would say AEW does a better job with that. But the Young Bucks brings their whole division down. But just single-handedly, that team brings the whole division down. Okay? The WWE has traditionally been very poor about having tag teams. Vince McMahon had this idea that, when you're having a tag team match, you're having to pay for 2 extra wrestlers, and he doesn't like that. Okay?
Okay.
So you got extra talent, come up with some good tag teams. And, not just thrown together shit. I'm talking about, actual make some good tag teams. We were having a discussion the other day, and we were talking about ranking the best WCW tag teams. The tag team division in WCW throughout all of its years, except for maybe towards the end, was hot. Lance, do you know about Doom?
A little.
Oh, you don't know about Doom.
Little.
Let me tell you about Doom.
Okay.
Doom was Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
Okay.
2 beefy, muscular guys. Mm-hmm. Okay. Powerful. They got on the map by beating the Steiner brothers, which back then, you got to understand, the Steiner brothers were top tier tag team. Okay. Well, anyway, you got to think about WCW. They had the Rock and Roll Express. They had Doom. They had the Road Warriors. They had the Steiner brothers. You had Harlem Heat. The Hollywood Blondes. You had all these great tag teams, and these were like tag teams. WWE has a habit of just throwing 2 random wrestlers together. Don't even have matching costumes or outfits or whatever, and it just looks pitiful. And so we could beef up the tag team division to show more talent on a shorter show. That is one thing that I would do to shorten the show, is have more tag teams. And you could have more matches with multiple wrestlers, and not everything's got to be a one-on-one match. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm kind of like Cornette. I'm not a fan of having triple threat matches for titles and stuff like that. But for just random throwaway matches, why not? And it would be more unpredictable. If you get a triple threat match, it's harder to predict who's going to win. That's one of the problems with wrestling right now, is I can watch it and 9 times out of 10, I can tell you who's going to win the match. So have better writing, less predictability, beef up your tag team division, shorter shows, have better usage of making up characters and building character work.
Yep. I just think I think you can just sum this up as like you said earlier, it's a money grab. That's the only reason for an extra hour.
Yeah.
When it's not necessary. But I want to hear what everybody else has to say. I want to see what people put in the comments. Maybe we'll get some of those basement dwellers in the comments. Don't take away my extra hour of wrestling.
Me and my mom will get on to you about it. But yeah. All right, Lance, you got anything else to say about wrestling lasting forever?
Only that I hope it stops lasting forever.
Yeah.
And we can just go back to the normal 2 hours and be happy with it.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll see you later.
Later.